Welcome to Life by Design, episode 363. Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Riches. I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Cratio Jug.
Oh yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, we are creators of Life by Design with many locations worldwide. Each week on the show, we discuss the principles and the practice of Life by Design. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite games as a child, and still, anytime I get a chance to play it, and that's Monopoly. You might wonder, Cratio, what the heck are we talking about Monopoly for and its impact on self-esteem? But recently, Hasbro, and many people know the name Hasbro for many of their favorite childhood toys, Hasbro launched a game, Miss Monopoly. And just interesting tagline, I think that'll spark today's conversation is the first game where women make more than men.
Are you waiting for a comment?
It's all on you now.
Perfect. Yeah. So
Thanks.
That's great. I don't really care who earns more than me for any reason. Actually, that's not true for some reasons, and that's what we're going to talk about today. As far as I can tell, based on what I read, the only thing that's different is that women. So the classic, hey, you pass go, you collect $200. That's so classic that it's become like a meme. It's like a meme in our culture.
Sure.
So apparently, if you're a female player, you get $240 when you pass go instead of $200. That's the only discrepancy in terms of pay that week came out. And now, you might be wondering, well, what's the problem with this? What are these two bozos? What are they griping about now? And the gripe and the reason that this is a hit on someone's self-esteem is because you're giving them something for a characteristic instead of they're getting something because they've earned it.
Right. And
that's the real issue at heart here, right? Like, you kind of gave me a loaded question. I don't really care. If somebody invents or creates something or they provide more value than me, I don't care if they're a man or a woman or an alien and they make more money than me. That's great. Like the way that money works is it's a value exchange. Right. So the fact that like Jeff Bezos makes the most per year, it's well deserved. He runs probably the most value driven company on the face of the earth. Right. Like people order stuff from Amazon all of the time. Right. Now, whether Jeff Bezos was a man or a woman, it wouldn't matter because the value is there. Right. So the issue that I have with this is teaching people that they're going to get, extra because they're this trait or this color. And here's the thing, you can substitute gender for color, for hair color, for whatever. It doesn't matter what you substitute. We need to work on living in a world where people get what they deserve in terms of their actions and their choices versus their traits and their characteristics. Yeah,
no, I think you essentially encapsulated today's podcast, which is, it's what's interesting is that there's for the last 20 or 30 years, obviously the equal rights movement, civil rights, all that type of stuff, which I'm all for equality, right? And I'm all for equal rights, and I'm all for people to have, opportunity and not to be judged on their skin color, their hair color, the gender that they are. And it just seems crazy that in 2019 that this is even a thing. It seems like it's such a paradox. It's like the pot calling the kettle black here in the sense that, striving for equality or equal opportunity. And yet this game is all about giving somebody a step up simply because they have a different attribute than somebody else playing the game.
Yeah. So just so we're clear, like Monopoly is it's fair in the sense that everyone's given an equal opportunity to take risks and to get rewarded or to get punished based on the risks that they take. Right. Like I remember playing Monopoly, as a kid. And I think it was created, it was actually created by a woman, which is kind of cool. So the story that we've all been taught isn't necessarily true, but there would be the players who would hoard their money and they wouldn't make any investments. Right. And there are the players who would make investments and actually go into debt to make sure that they're learning how to invest their money, to buy properties, to buy houses, to buy hotels. Right. And then you multiply the game forward, you get punished or you win based on your choices, not based on whether you pick the shoe versus the hat.
Right. And obviously some random luck as well, because it's
Which is
the roll
life.
of the dice and where you lie and those types of things. And, as this applies to obviously the, real world outside of Monopoly, where your Cratio is tying this to in terms of self-esteem. Self-esteem is, something that gets developed in part by pursuing your values, and in pursuing those values, seeing rewards and the outcomes that happen from that. And I'm a father of 2 girls. And so, you might think, oh, well, I'm in favor of this game. They get the advantage. But although there may be an advantage from a financial standpoint, they're not going to learn the rules of how life really works. They're not going to learn the rules of creating more value in order to get more in return. And, in the end, that is going to damage their self-esteem.
Yeah. So we're clear, like self-esteem is developed by taking on challenges, right? And based on the choices, that you make and the actions that you take, you're successful in conquering the things, that you face. This is no different than, watching, children who have everything handed to them, and then they cower in fear when the one day where they have to face the real world, right? Like if my parents are arguing with my coaches to get me onto the team, if my parents are arguing with my teachers to give me the grades that I want, if my parents are providing me with an income when I'm not working, those things are going to hurt me when the day comes when I have to learn how to do all those things for myself.
Yeah, and I think the important point is that as I said, the fact that it's Miss Monopoly could be swapped out with any other type of attribute. And so if we're listening to what a detractor might say when they listen to this, and I know we talked about this in the pre-show, what would somebody say who could be a detractor here? Well, women have had less opportunity for X amount of time, and so this is just it's time, it's payback, and again, we're talking about Monopoly here, so let's take it as it is. It's more of a metaphor for other things, but it's time that women got their chance, and so now we need to make it up for the time that the equality and equal opportunity wasn't there. And I know you gave a great answer, Cratio, that I think would make some sense of anybody who maybe has that position.
Yeah. So again, we're not jostling for power here. It is unfortunate. And I agree that women have been mistreated as a gender for sure. I would definitely agree with that. However, the solution does not lie in replacing one gender on top of another. Right. The solution here is independence and freedom. Right. And it's letting the chips fall where they may. It's not punishing somebody now because they're a certain sex or gender. It's evening the playing field in the sense that it doesn't matter what color or gender or whatever you want to measure you are. It comes down to the choices that you make. That's right. The real right. And what you have described, which exists, obviously, there's more than enough that stuff out there. That's more the struggle for power versus the struggle for equality.
Right. Well, I think the point we're making is this is, not really a political podcast, although you could, take this down the political road, but it's really one of morality, right? And looking at the moral situation of judging people by their traits versus their merits.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This is a clear example of why philosophy is so important, and particularly the branches of philosophy. And people who, and you can see it all over. We just had the election in Canada, and there's people. I won't get started, but people who have unclear politics, right? Who aren't clear on what they represent, and they go back and forth on major issues. The reason that they do that is because politics is the last branch of philosophy, right? If you're clear on your morality, if you're clear on your metaphysics, if you're clear on your epistemology, then you're also clear on your politics and your ethics, which are the later branches, right? So this is a clear example, right? I don't want to take this into politics. This isn't a political podcast. This is a moral podcast, and it's wrong to favor people, no matter what, based on their traits that they haven't controlled and that they can control.
So then, maybe devil's advocate again, and you can give me some of your commentary here. When we look at, say, equality, what about someone who says, well, equality doesn't exist in the sense that there's people who have better opportunities. They were born in a different country. So, there's already that. So why not just, go ahead and do this anyway and give people who've been behind the 8 ball now a chance to be on top?
Yeah, sure. So you're talking about 2 different types of equality. That's a great question. There's metaphysical equality, which is impossible. I can I can play basketball till the cows come home. I will never be LeBron James. He has won the genetic lottery, right? So in that sense, he's always going to be genetically superior to me. Now, that's always going to happen, no matter what system you have. My parents came from socialism and from communism. The people who were born into the parties, people who were the children of the political leaders, of course they had an advantage. Of course their parents wanted to give them a little bit better, right? So we're talking about political equality in the sense that we all have the same chance to succeed and fail politically. That means that
Gotcha.
somebody's not going to stop you just to stop you, right?
Gotcha.
And yes, you're right. Unfortunately, that's always going to be the world. There are always going to be people who, have better odds at something than others based on whatever it is. They're more charming, they're prettier, they're uglier, they're harder working, they're stronger, they're weaker, they're smarter. Like, we can't account for that. All we can account for is level the playing field and say, hey, we're not going to judge you based on the characteristics that you can't control. We're giving everyone an equal shot to either succeed or to fail.
Gotcha. And so then people listening in, we've got people, lots of different, avenues, ranges, ages, and so on. What's the lesson for the day-to-day lives? Obviously, it's not about playing Monopoly or Miss Monopoly, but, there's something bigger that can be pared down to an applicable action step, or at least an applicable way of, framing up your life, and especially those with kids, why this is important for them.
Sure. So the lesson is twofold. Lesson number one is to have this internal dialogue with yourself and to understand these principles, because your self-esteem is at stake, and the people around you who you're responsible for raising and taking care of, their self-esteem is at stake. And number two, try to put yourself in situations where you're either failing or succeeding based on the things that you're actually doing and the person who you are choosing to become versus the person that, you were created environmentally.
Gotcha. Cool. I love this podcast, Kreisha. This is a great topic. I'm glad you found this one.
Yeah, it just struck me as weird. I had one of those. Is this for real? Like, I thought somebody was. I thought this was a joke.
When you sent it and I read the article, I thought the exact same thing. I was looking for something more and deeper, and just as simple as, hey, you get 240 and you get 200. I thought, well, that doesn't really make any sense now, does it?
Nope.
Guys, go to the show notes. We'll put a copy. You can read about Miss Monopoly there. You can also grab a copy of the Think by Design ebook, and you can check out the free Think by Design 30-day challenge. That's at lifebydesign.com/podcast. And thank you for joining the drive to 1 million families worldwide living life by design.